On today's show, the Cavs had yet another blowout victory over the 76ers on Saturday night at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. This team keeps trying to tell us something. I'll tell you exactly what that is. Plus, we're going to talk about Evan Mobley's dunk over Andre Drummond on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like 92.3 The Fan, my new Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Of course, today's episode sponsored by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. The Cleveland Cavaliers destroyed the Philadelphia 76ers on Saturday night. It was the second night of a back-to-back for both teams, and in both ends of the back-to-back, the Cavs absolutely embarrassed the other team. Friday night, Milwaukee is a better team than Philadelphia, coming off of an NBA Cup championship. They got embarrassed. And then Saturday, the season has not gone according to plan for Philly. I think it's fair to say that. Joel Embiid did not play against the Cavs, but Paul George and Tyrese Maxey did. And the Cavs embarrassed Philadelphia. They were head and shoulders better. They outclassed the Sixers. And this Cavs team keeps telling us something, right? Every single game, it seems like there's a message that's being sent. And that message is that this Cavs team is a true championship contender. No ifs, no ands, no buts, nothing. They are a true championship contender and should be treated as such. So let's just take a look at who the Cavs are right now because, yeah, you can poke holes in their resume a little bit with the schedule, but go back and look at some of the best teams that they've played, right? They've played Boston twice. They're 1-1 in those games. They've played the Knicks. They beat the Knicks. They played Orlando. They beat Orlando. They played Milwaukee 3 times now. They've beaten Milwaukee 3 times now, 3-0. They already hold the tiebreaker over the Bucks. It's not going to come down to that, but they do already hold that tiebreaker. They beat Denver. They beat Golden State in blowout fashion. Both those teams, blowout fashion, right? So they have those impressive wins that you look for when you're trying to evaluate a team. And I get that we're barely even into winter. Like the first day of winter was yesterday. But when you're trying to evaluate these teams, you do want to take a look and see what they've done against some of the best teams. But I do think nights like Saturday against a team that I do think Philly has more talent than the record suggests, certainly. Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, I know Joel Embiid hasn't played a ton this year, but like that team, the bones of that team is better than a team that I think they're, 9-17 now? They're a better team than the record says. But let's just treat them as if they are what the record says there, right? So then the Cavs, you take a look at the bad teams that they've played. Well, they beat Washington by 19. They beat Toronto by 30 this year. They beat Chicago by 18. Even some of the good teams like Milwaukee beat them by 23 this weekend. They beat Philly by 27 tonight or Saturday. I'm recording this late Saturday night. They beat Philly by 27 tonight. They beat the Lakers by 24. They beat Brooklyn by 29. They are completely and totally outclassing these teams. So there's taking care of business against the good teams, which you can look at as, okay, that's a competitive win, like the win they had against the Boston Celtics. Heck, even the loss they had in Boston against the Celtics, I thought that was a moment where you could look at and say, okay, they played this game the way a championship team should play that game. The Cavs have been that all year long. And I do think that they should be treated as such. They should be a team that we look at and say, you know what, it's starting to get hard. I'm not going to say it's hard for me to imagine them not winning the title because that's not true. But if you take a look at how the season has gone so far across the NBA, I think that there's pretty clearly a group of teams capable of winning the finals. I don't think it's a big group. And I think the Cavs are in that group. You look at Boston, obviously capable of it. Oklahoma City, I think very clearly capable of it. I think the Cavs are right there. And then I think there's a drop off after Cleveland. I think that and I'm not saying the Cavs are third in that group. I don't know where they sit in that group. But I think that it's those three teams and everybody else. And I just think Saturday night is another example of that, because Philly has a lot to prove right now. They have a lot of ground to make up if they want to be a playoff team. They need to start winning these games. And that should be looked at as an opportunity. And Philly got off to a good start in this game on Saturday night, right? Like they had an 11-point lead in the first quarter at one point, and then the Cavs responded, and just teams don't have a response. Teams do not seem to have a response to the Cavs. When the Cavs shoot the ball well, which obviously they did on Saturday, they were 22 of 43 on threes. When they do that, and when they play good defense, holding Philly to 99 points, they're not going to ever lose. The pathway to beating the Cavs, when they do one of those things well, when they shoot the ball really well, or when they play good defense, is really narrow. When they do both of those things, I don't know that pathway exists. Like, I kind of think to beat them on a night like that, you have to be in that, the small group of teams that I just brought up. Like, that's kind of who you have to beat. The Cavs have been telling us all year long that they are a true championship contender. At a certain point, every team in the NBA just is who they are telling you they are. The Cavs have been telling us this for what, 20, how many games is this? 28 games now? They've been 29 games, 25-4. They've been telling us this. I think everybody should start listening, because the Cavs have that message that, yeah, they want to prove all this in the playoffs, and the regular season is what the regular season is. But I also think to be a championship contender, you do have to have this sort of, not as good as the Cavs have been. Like, this is just a rare start. It's the best start in franchise history. A team does not get off to a 25-4 start every year in the NBA. But there's a level of focus you have to have, a level of talent, a level of execution. And I do think that the Cavs are going to improve in some of those areas. Like, I don't think that they've peaked at this point. I think offensively, they're going to continue to get better. I still think that there are things they can improve upon. And that is one of the kind of the next things that really does interest me. But you can't watch this team play basketball and tell me they're not good enough to win a championship. And I think a game like the one on Saturday against Philadelphia, second night of a back-to-back, Joel Embiid's not playing, that is a real easy game to overlook and to look past. And I think that we've seen teams in the past. I think we've seen Cavs teams in recent memory that have looked at opponents who maybe didn't have all of their star players, or who maybe weren't playing their best basketball coming in, and the Cavs would play down to their level. And it's not to say that just because you don't play down to other teams' levels that you're automatically a championship contender, because that's not true. But I do think that there's a level of focus, there's a level of maturity, and there's a level of drive with this team that I do think makes me feel as if not only are they a championship contender, but they're like a team that is as good as the record is. They are a team that you watch them, it's like, okay, how exactly do you beat this team? This is a roster that doesn't have a ton of holes in it. Yeah. Could they use more depth on the wing? Of course. Who couldn't in the NBA? Every team in the NBA that's good wants to have better wing players, except Boston, because they have two really great ones in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Other than that, like, there's just not negative things to say about this Cavs team. And they keep coming out game after game after game and showing us that they are the best team in basketball, and they're a team that should be treated as such. So you can say what you want about Milwaukee not having Damian Lillard on Friday night, and Philadelphia not having Joel Embiid on Saturday night, and those things do matter. Do those things make the game easier for the Cavs? Of course they do. There's no question that Milwaukee is a more formidable team when Damian Lillard is playing in that game. There's no question that Philadelphia, well, maybe there's some question, but there's not much of a question that Philadelphia is a better team when Joel Embiid is playing and engaged. But that doesn't make the Cavs' execution and performance against these teams who are not operating at full strength. Again, that matters here. But that doesn't make the level of execution that the Cavs have shown any less impressive. If anything, I think it makes the level of focus a little bit more. Throughout the year, teams are going to tell you who they are. They're going to show you who they are. The results are going to speak for themselves. At a certain point, you have to believe what the teams are telling you. You have to. The Cavs have been telling us that they are a championship caliber team. I think everybody should listen to that. I do. Before this week, the Cavs had a net rating of 9.6. After the 3 games they played this week, 3 blowout wins, almost 3 wins by 25 plus points, their net rating is up to 11.4. So like I said, at a certain point, a team is who they tell you is, who they keep telling you that they are. We should believe them. I think it's time that everybody, and I know a lot of you out there have believed this, but I think it's time that everybody start believing the Cavs are a championship contender this season. Now, how did the Cavs beat the Sixers? Want to talk a little bit more about Darius Garland, and got to talk about Caris LeVert. Plus, going to talk about Evan Mobley's posterization of Andre Drummond. That is all straight ahead right here on today's edition of Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Skylight Frames, one of my favorite gifts that I've ever given. So what Skylight Frames, what they are is, you have a picture frame, right? Like you might be, maybe you're sitting at home and you can look to your left or your right and you see a picture frame of you and a loved one, or maybe a pet or something like that. Or, hey, I don't know, maybe a really cool event from your life. Maybe you have that moment that is special to you. You have a photograph of it and it's in a frame, and that frame is going to always be at your bedside or in your kitchen or hanging on the wall, whatever. Well, I'm going to guess you have more moments than just that one that's framed. So why not have a frame where the photos can rotate all the time, where you can constantly update that frame with the things that are important to you? Skylight Frames does just that. It's incredibly easy to set up. It makes for a great gift too, and it's incredibly easy to update too. I need to stress this because I have one of these. I think it's great. I got my mother one of these probably 2 or 3 years ago now, and she absolutely loves it. She has it in her kitchen. She gets excited every time someone sends in a new photo, and friends and family can do just that. So what you can do is you can have friends or family easily share photos with the free Skylight mobile app, or with an email account that you set up to the frame. So my mom has an email account that you send an image to that email and it pops up on the frame in her kitchen. Again, makes for a great gift. You can add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. You don't have to be nearby to do it. You just email, use it on the app. Whatever's easiest for you, you can make it happen. It's really easy to set up. It's a great brand. As I mentioned, I've given it as a gift. I have one. My mom could not be happier with it. I love mine that I have in my kitchen. So it really does make for a great gift this holiday season if you're still searching. And now, for a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NBA. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said at the top of the show, if you're listening to this, you can find it anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure you are subscribed and tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Darius Garland, I thought, was awesome against the Philadelphia 76ers on Saturday night. He finished with 26 points on 11 shots. Like, that is ridiculous efficiency. Obviously, he was great from beyond the arc, and the Cavs are just a much better team when Garland is willing to take and make three-pointers. He is a terrific shooter. He's shooting, I don't have the updated numbers after Saturday night's game, but he's around 44% from beyond the three-point arc. He's been a terrific shooter. That shouldn't come as some surprise. Like, he is somebody who has always been a really good shooter. And I think last season kind of has clouded the judgment of some people, but he is putting together an all-star campaign. There's zero doubt about that. He was fantastic again on Saturday night. When he is at his best, it's when he's shooting threes at a medium to high volume. I think 7 is a pretty good spot to be. I think it's a little nitpicky, but he probably should be around 8 or 9 a game. Again, I think that's a little bit nitpicky. You really can't complain about a guy's game. And truthfully, he probably would have been at 9 in this game had he played a full minutes allotment. Like, he only played 26 minutes because the Cavs had such command of this game that he didn't need to play much, if at all, in the fourth quarter. I don't remember if he played in the fourth quarter or not, but the performance that he has, it's consistent. It's awesome. When he is in rhythm, when he is shooting the basketball well, the Cavs are, this is going to shock you, really difficult to beat. So when Garland makes 3 or more threes in a game, the Cavs are 14-1. Now, that's easy to say too, that, well, when he doesn't make 3 or more threes in a game, they're what? What's their record then? 11-3. So that's pretty good too. But I think that I think it's a good tell. Like, Darius Garland, I think for me, is kind of a good barometer of how the Cavs are feeling. I think that he is somebody that, I don't know if I want to call him the heart and soul of this team, but I think that he means a lot in that locker room too. The locker room right now is, to me, I think one of the best spaces I've been in my career, like professional locker rooms that I've been in. These guys genuinely seem to get along very well. They genuinely seem to like each other. They're having a ton of fun this season. I don't know that I've ever been around a group that has more fun than this Cavs team. And one of the guys that always seems to be at the center of it is Darius Garland. Like, I think that the stats have said that he's having an awesome year. And that's great. But I think that the vibes that Darius Garland has given off all year tell a story even better than the ones that the box score is telling for him. And I think that's just evident if you watch this team, if you listen to Darius Garland in interviews, if you read stories that Darius Garland is quoted in. Like, I just think that he has been such a bright spot for this team. I think that he's been in such a great spot mentally too, coming off of last season. And this has just been a great year for him. Saturday night was, again, no exception. He was 6 of 7 from 3. And you can kind of tell when he's got it going on, when the ball leaves his hand on a 3, particularly above the break, and he'll sort of start skipping towards the basket, right? I think you all know what I'm talking about. He'll start skipping towards the basket. And when he does that, it's like, okay, you know that one's going in. And you know Darius Garland is feeling really, really good about things. And he had one of those on Saturday night. And it's just like, when that happens, there's nothing other teams can do, because Darius Garland can be that guy. And he's been that guy a lot for the Cavs. He should be an all-star. I think he will be an all-star. I will do a little bit more all-star conversation probably on tomorrow's show. I want to dive deeper into Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, because all three of them truly should be all-stars. A guy that I don't think will be an all-star, but has had such a big impact on the Cavs this year, Caris LeVert. So on Saturday night, the Cavs got off to a slow start. They were down, I believe, 25-14 in the first quarter. They looked really sluggish. Shots weren't falling. They turned the ball over a ton early on. I think they had like 6 turnovers in the first 5 or 6 minutes of this game. It was just not great offense. And then what happens? Donovan Mitchell goes to the bench. Evan Mobley goes to the bench as part of their normal rotations. Like, they'll play the first part of that first quarter, check out for 3 or 4 more minutes, and then come in to finish the quarter. And who comes in? Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert has been one of the best bench players in basketball. I do think, and I'm going to tell you in a little bit about how great FanDuel Sportsbook is, but one of the things that I don't think they're giving enough credit to is Caris LeVert, because he's somebody that his name should be higher up in the conversation for 6th man of the year. I understand Peyton Pritchard's been awesome for Boston. DeAndre Hunter's been fantastic for the Atlanta Hawks. But what Caris LeVert comes in and does, and it's not necessarily always quantifiable in the box score. Like, he's not going to go out and score 25 points a night coming off the bench. And I get that. But almost every single time Caris LeVert checks into the game, the Cavs start playing better than they were when he was on the bench. And this is not a plea for him to be a starter, because that's not the best thing for the Cavs. That's not the best thing for Caris too. But on Saturday night, he played 22 minutes. Again, partially because it was a blowout. He would have played more, probably like 28. Played 22 minutes on Saturday night against Philly. The Cavs outscored the Sixers by 36 when he was on the floor. 36 points in 22 minutes. And is this extreme? Yes. Does plus minus always tell the full story of how a guy is playing? No. But with Caris LeVert, I do think it's a pretty good indicator of the impact that he's had on games, because routinely Caris comes in and the Cavs start playing better. I think one of the things that he does best is he turns up the heat defensively, where he starts putting more pressure on opposing ball handlers than maybe the Cavs starting lineup does. And I think that is a gateway to turnovers. And I think that's a gateway to easy offense. And I think that the speed Caris LeVert has in the open floor is something nobody else on this roster can replicate. And all of that leads to good things for the Cavs. One of the biggest issues with the Cavs early in this game was they were not playing at the proper pace. They were playing a little bit slow. They were sloppy, as I mentioned. Caris LeVert checked in. They started playing faster. They took off. And then they went from being down by 11 at 25-14 to the game being tied at 30 going into the second quarter. And then the Cavs never looked back. And I'm not saying Caris LeVert's the player of the game. He's not. But you have to, I think if you just watch these games night after night, you can feel the impact Caris LeVert constantly has on the Cavs. You can. He's been such a bright spot for this Cavs team. And just Saturday night was the latest example of it. Caris has been awesome. I think he deserves more credit than he gets for how good the Cavs have been. Evan Mobley has been getting a ton of credit. He deserves a ton of credit. We have to talk about the dunk of Evan Mobley's career so far next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up, because this is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. I earned some points on groceries earlier today. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending, all at no extra cost. Redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments with over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in the program. The possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. It's a great way to use your points. You're already paying rent. Why not make points off of it? Built can help you do that. So start earning points on the rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. LOCKEDONNBA. Make sure you use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Today's show is also brought to you by the fine folks over at FanDuel Sportsbook. It is, of course, America's #1 sportsbook, and the NFL playoffs almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets. $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways to get in on the action to pick up a win. You can bet anytime touchdowns. It's a big day in the NFL on Sunday. Monday night too. Green Bay, New Orleans. I like Green Bay in that one. If you're watching or listening to this Sunday, the Browns take on the Bengals today. Don't think it's going to go well for the Browns, but you can bet spreads, money lines, totals, whatever you want. FanDuel has you covered. Like I mentioned in basketball, you can bet the regular season awards. Maybe you do believe Caris LeVert's going to climb up. Take him right now at plus 6,000. You're not going to find a better value on the board for that. And right now, visit FanDuel, because, like I said, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 win. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. If you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. Evan Mobley, I thought, had an awesome game. He got off to a slow start on Saturday against Philly, but he finished the night 22 points, 13 boards, 7 assists. I think it's the closest he's ever been to a triple-double. I don't believe he's had one in his career, but he did it 10 of 14 shooting, did hit a 3. If you want to nitpick, he was 1 of 5 from the free throw line. So shame on him for missing his free throws, I guess. But the highlight of the night was absolutely Evan Mobley's dunk over Cavs legend, I guess, Andre Drummond. But Mobley got the ball at the top of the key, defended by Martin, goes to his left, rises up, and just absolutely throws it down on Andre Drummond. I asked Evan about this after the game, and he basically said, you know what, I went up and I don't remember what happened. He's like, I just blacked out. But he went up with that left hand, and it was the best dunk Evan has had in his career. He kind of said it's his favorite one that he's had so far in his career. It was without question the highlights of Saturday night. It was the loudest that building got. It was early in the third quarter, which kind of is a quieter time typically in NBA games. But man, he just went up and he absolutely destroyed Andre Drummond on this dunk. And I mean, credit to Drummond for trying to go up and block it too. I do think Evan actually got fouled. He got hit in the face. If you go look at the photos the Cavs tweeted out, he got hit in the face by Drummond. And some of the reactions too by the guys on the floor for the Cavs are really great. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, I'm going to play the video one more time. Watch Donovan Mitchell and watch Darius Garland after Evan Mobley throws this down. Like, those guys could not believe that he went up there and did this. Donovan immediately puts his hand on his head. Darius Garland can't believe what he just saw. And I think a lot of the arena felt that way too. It was an incredibly impressive play. Evan Mobley's game overall offensively, it just continues to expand. He was really impressive again on Saturday night. He just continues to impress. The Cavs are not who the Cavs are right now without Evan Mobley taking the leap. And I understand that, you know, the leap can be a cliche thing, and I totally get that. But he has taken a leap forward. There's no question about that. Evan Mobley should be an all-star. I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think that the Cavs become a championship contender without Evan Mobley becoming who he is. Now, the ultimate test for him is going to be what's he going to look like in the playoffs, but he has passed every test with flying colors so far in the regular season. I think he'll be an all-star. I think he deserves to be an all-star. We'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen. Thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I will be back tomorrow. We've got a full week of episodes. Drop some questions in the comments too. I want to do a mailbag, but I'll be back tomorrow with Locked On Cavs.